What's going on, everybody? We're here live. Welcome to day 2 Super High Roller Bowl $300,000 tournament recap show, stream, rail, podcast, whatever you want to call it. My name's Joey. Good morning, K Chicago Joey. Yesterday we did one with Timex. We also did a companion stream as well for the day 2. And I talked yesterday about how I'm quitting Bonomo. I'm becoming a tournament player by taking PLP's course on Upswing with him and Doug they created. And guys, after yesterday, I've never been more sure of that decision in my life. I'm leaving PLO behind. No more 4 cards. I'm taking the course, and I've been in the. No, I'm kidding. I'm actually going to take. I'm going to take the course, but I'm not quitting PLO. You guys know PLO is a great game, but the courses went live yesterday. We're giving away bonus content. Links in the description below. Get 20 extra videos. Copy of the book. I'm trying to make this fast. Check it out. That's it. Joining me today, back on the show, is a young man. This is one of my favorite guys over there in Europe. A man who's been leading the renaissance of party poker on Twitter. This guy's been, and we're going to talk about that in a separate podcast, of course, because I want to get Paz in here to have a nice party poker discussion. He's been doing a lot of really great things for them, but he's a man, got a lot of poker success, big time grinder, poet, entrepreneur. I don't know, man. He does all kind of cool stuff. We're joined by my boy Patrick Leonard here. What's up, Pads? Welcome back to the stream here.
How's it going? Nice to be here. Hi to Jonah as well. Nice to see him in the background.
Yes.
In all the work. The true wizard.
The true wizard, Jonah Bella himself over here right now. But yeah, guys, if you tuned in, we had a companion stream yesterday for the day 2. And it was a fun time, man. What'd you think about the Super High Roller Bowl yesterday, man? What was your thoughts on that?
Your audio kind of went off there, sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
No, I said, what's your thoughts on what was your overall thoughts yesterday on yesterday's show?
No, it was good. I liked it. Usually in the past, people have been critical about play because it's been too tight. Like every time the main event final table comes around, everyone's on Twitter like fucking Griffin Benger, he's folding too much, or whoever, they're not playing enough hands. But it was kind of the opposite yesterday. Everyone was going fucking crazy. Like there was so many random like river leads, min bets, check raises, like loads of limping. It was nice to watch because it wasn't your normal, just generic like German robotic play. There was loads of like out of the box things going on, and that's fun to watch, I think. When you see the same guys playing the same style every single time, it's not nice, but here everyone was doing crazy stuff, so it was fun to watch, I think. Every hand was like unique. It was like I've never seen this line before ever, every single hand, so that's kind of cool, I think.
Yeah, man, I think that definitely comes from the table yesterday. It had David Einhorn on there, who is a businessman, but he's also been playing a ton of poker. Kerry Katz as well, too. Kevin Hart was obviously on the feature table the entire time. He even busted out the young Prince Fedor holes, which was low-key kind of funny, but at the same time, obviously I want Fedor to go deep in that tournament. But I think a lot of fans around the world want to see Fedor go deep in that tournament, too. And but yeah, I think that had to do with the dynamic of the table being that we have these professionals in a row there. We had Jason Kuhn, Brian Rast, and then Fedor, and then you got Einhorn. And you had Kevin Hart, you had a couple guys rotate in, Petrangelo, and I think you had Dan Perper, and then you had Kerry Katz come in that seat. So I feel like it did make for some unique play. And I think one of the things we were talking about on Twitter for most of the day, and what I heard from other people is that, and we talked about this yesterday too, is that I would have liked to see the tables rotate a little bit more. And that was sort of the thing I think most people that I talked to.
Yeah, I guess Hart's bringing so many people, I guess, right? So. Yeah.
What'd you say?
I think Kevin Hart was just bringing so many unique people to the stream. Maybe he had some deal, like he had to be on the stream the whole time, something like this. I'm not sure. I think like 5 days of this guy's time is worth like, I don't know, like a couple of million at least. So I think he probably signed some deal where he was allowed a lot of exposure, I guess. But yeah, I think it was good. I think these businessmen like Carrie and David Einhorn, it just shows how super smart they are. They don't want to play the same style as Fedor or whoever else because they know Fedor is going to beat them. So they've kind of developed their own style over the last few years. And it's good. They're doing different things and making players like uncomfortable and out of the box. Like when you go to WSOP and you play a $1,500 event, usually you see like amateurs just playing like a poorer version of what you're trying to do. But these guys are just obviously very smart, super smart. They've realized that they need to do different things. Like Carrie was doing like so much different stuff. And it wasn't just random stuff. It was obviously like kind of calculated. He was thinking like, I'm going to go into this tournament with this plan. And it wasn't obviously coached by a poker player because some of it was a bit goofy or wasn't so good, but it was his own style and he had his own identity. And I think that's nice to see. Yeah, I really like that that from that point of view. In terms of streaming, I thought it was a little bit boring at times. It was the same guys again and again and again. I kind of wanted to go out into the trenches and watch how the Germans were battling against each other, and Smith against Tony G. That kind of stuff would be interesting, I think. But I don't think we can complain, really. It was pretty good viewing from the most part, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that while I would have liked to see that other play too on the outer tables as well, it was overall a pretty good show. I mean, you know, I'm not a big watch No Limit Hold'em fan. I'm sure most people know that, but I was watching the entire time too. So, I mean, I guess it's like a mixture of, do you want to see some of the best players who you know a lot about play? Or do you want to see a mixture of guys who are businessmen that you don't know much about, and then some of the best players play? So it's sort of, you know, I can definitely see merit for both sides of that argument, wanting to see the best players compete at the top level here in this tournament, and then sort of mix them in with that. So, I mean, I don't know. Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer to see a table of really great players sort of battling it out? Or would you rather see this sort of dynamic that we saw yesterday where you have a couple businessmen mixed in with a couple of the best players in the world?
I mean, usually I think it's quite boring to watch businessmen and professionals play together, because usually what happens is the businessmen just slowly bleed their chips to the professionals, and then they spew and just punt it off. And the professionals just play in line, like Jason Kuhn, Brian Rast, they just play their ranges kind of thing. But yesterday, I think it was a little bit different because the amateurs were really pushing the action and forcing the action. Usually it's the other way around, like the professionals force the action, they free bet a lot, they isolate a lot. But here, I think you saw Jason Kuhn and Brian Rast, they didn't really want to like risk their tournament life. They realized it's like a 5-day tournament and they're going to preserve their stack a lot. So I think it's more interesting when the amateurs are in control of the table, because usually, you know, like if this was a 1-day area 25K, Jason Kuhn and Brian Rast would be playing every hand trying to get the amateurs money. But because it's a 5-day event, the amateurs were in control of the table. They were making, you know, Jason fold or Brian fold or whatever else. Like, I think it was Bill Klein. He did that crazy 3-barrel bluff against Brian Rast, where he had Queen Jack and he bet flop turn and river, and Brian Rast folded the best hand. And I think because it's a 5, these pushing the professionals to the limits, which is good. I think the amateurs are also smart enough to realize that the professionals don't want to play huge pots against.
Oh, we might have a little pads lag here, boys. We are live right now. Let's see if we can get him back in the house here, man. But yeah, guys, we are talking about the day 232 Super High Roller Bowl out there in the chat, and kind of what he's saying is I would agree with him in that it was quite interesting to see a lot of those businessmen playing a really aggressive style. David Einhorst mixing it up with a lot of different 3-bets as well. Flat calling a lot. Kerry Katz obviously brought this completely. I mean, it seems like a pretty unique style of playing NOLA home tournaments to the game as well too. So I think that was very fun for myself to watch. I thought Kevin Hart overall played extremely tight, and he didn't really necessarily have many cards to play with, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, even if he had some cards to play with, I'm not quite sure I don't know if he would have made the final table, it would have been ridiculous, but I'm not sure how often a player like him will actually win this tournament. But with that said, who knows? We don't really get to see much of him play, but yeah, Pads is frozen here. He's frozen out. So, but yeah, guys, what's going on, everybody in the chat? You've been tuning into everything. Welcome. Thank you very much. And hope you guys have been enjoying it as well. The Super Roller Bowl has down to 19 players. Some of the podcast favorites are still alive. We got PLP, Pertush Badiga, number 7. He's in 7th place in chips right now. Jason Kuhn, who made a little comeback yesterday, finally had his patience in there, and then finally made his set on King 8-2 with 2 diamonds against Ace King. Got all his money in, and he had a pretty big double up there. He's in 9th place in chips right now. Justin Bonomo, chip leader. And Daniel Negreanu is on the short stack. Daniel Negreanu actually busted our buddy Doug Polk. He busted him with the King 8 suited all in pre-flop against Ace King. And I thought it was pretty interesting how Doug wore his Bad Reg t-shirt there, and he had a cookie jar filled with cookies there. So he had a Bad Reg shirt. He was at the same table as Jason Mercier, who you guys know that whole entire thing started from. So I did think that was, I mean, obviously he wore it on purpose. He knew what his table draw was going into it. But I thought it was kind of funny how he ended up at the same table with Daniel, and he ended up at the same table with Jason Mercier, and then he's busted by Daniel. So we don't really know any other hands he might have played that were that interesting. They showed him busting Scott Seaver with the Queen versus he had King and Scott Seaver had Queen. So let's see if we can get Pads back in here, man. We are live doing this, guys. So sometimes we get some technical difficulties. And that is right. Call me JC. Doug was trying to bring his Twitch emotes to life by bringing the cookie jar there. So, Pat, you back in here? You got to unmute the mic, kid.
Hey, yeah, my I moved to a better location for internet, stronger place, so it should be
Cool,
better.
man. Yeah, I was gonna say we were just talking about Doug Polk wore the Bad Rag T-shirt to the table, and he brought the cookie jar from Twitch. He brought his Twitch emote there to the table, and then he was busted by Daniel. And obviously, him and Daniel have their whole little beef going on. I don't know. So I thought it was quite. I don't know. It's quite. I don't know what's the word, right? Poetic. Coming from a poet like yourself, it was quite poetic that Daniel was the one to eliminate Doug, and Daniel got along with King 8, and Doug had the Ace King. I think it was for not many big blinds, but still, it's
Yeah, it was funny. I think Doug took it pretty well too. Like, I think Doug's great because he always plays with a smile on his face. Like when he loses, he's never tilted. He doesn't really seem to storm off or anything. He always seems to take it really well. Like when he's playing online too on his Twitch, when he loses, it's actually quite funny because he takes it really well. Like I think he's good for the game for sure. And
listen, man.
And
Doug's
this year was there too, right?
What'd you say?
I think Jason was there too, right? It was like Jason, Daniel, and Doug all in a row or something at one point.
Yeah, it was Doug, and then Jason, I think, was in the middle of the table. Doug was on seat 2 or something like that, and then Daniel was in seat 8, or seat 7. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of funny how that all works out. I mean, if we had been 86 at the table, then it would have been complete right there, But
yeah. I was hoping that Ben 86 and Doug would be on the same table. I wonder how it was. Does anyone know if there's any like interaction, or are they just kind of trying to be professional about it? Or
so I don't think there's been any interaction at all in quite a long time in real life. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully that can get resolved. I don't know if it gets resolved for sort of where it went, but I mean, I'm hoping it's someday they do kind of fix it out there. But we were talking about before you got frozen. We're talking about the businessmen play, and I thought you brought up a good point. It was fun to see the businessmen really mixing it up, man. Einhorn was throwing in some flats in position with some like a King 4 suited type hands. Then he started 3-betting some of those hands as well. Yeah. It seemed like, and obviously he played that really big pot with aces against Fedor's kings, where you could debate the pot could have been bigger. For those people that missed this big hand, Fedor was on a roll. He was steamrolling the table. I guess he was playing aggressive. Whether he's steamrolling, I guess that's up for interpretation. But so Fedor 3-bet King. Einhorn cold 4-bet aces. I believe Einhorn was in position on him. And then Fedor called with the kings. The flop was Jack 10, I believe 3. Fedor checked. Einhorn bet. Fedor check called. The turn was a 7. And then it went check, check. The river was a blank card. And then Fedor bet 1/3 pot. And then Einhorn just flat called. So now, Pads, in that spot, what do you think about that overall line from Einhorn? Because on one hand, it seems like the pot should have been bigger. And you could maybe say Fedor may be able to get away from kings at that point in time too. But were pretty deep as well, and I can understand Einhorn checking back the turn and then just calling the river, I guess. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that hand?
Yeah, I think it's good because if you think about the way that Einhorn had a really good understanding of his own image. Like he knows that Fedor's going to fold the turn with any jack, any 10, any draw if he bets big. So I think he knows that it's a 2-street hand. It's not a 3-street hand. So it's probably better to check the turn and then bet the river, or maybe induce something from Fedor. Maybe Fedor bluffs like King Queen or Queen 9 suited or something on the river. So I think it's good. I think you make more money by checking the turn. I think the most interesting hand with Einhorn and Fedor was Einhorn had 4-5 on a flop of Queen Jack Deuce, and Fedor had Ace Jack. I'm not sure if you remember that, but Einhorn bet the flop, and Fedor stared him down for like a full 30 seconds. And Einhorn didn't give off anything, and Fedor folded Ace Jack. It was like Queen Jack Deuce Rainbow.
Yeah, I remember that hand.
Einhorn made a really light bet, and Fedor was really trying to look for a live tail, and then Fedor folded because he thought he looked really strong. So even though their technical game seems like it's actually pretty good, but obviously their live poker face game and how kind of focused and determined they are is good too. Like this was 2 long days, like 10-hour days, whatever, and it was towards the end of the day. And playing against Fedor, it's actually quite tough. Like I played against Fedor last year in a 10K 6 max, and when he stares you down, it's hard. Like you get nervous, like you're like, oh God, he's gonna find something on me. But Einhorn like kept himself really like well, like postured, and he kept himself like, it looked like he was just had a good live presence, And I think that's pretty good thing.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the day was when Luis Leon finally came to the table. Leon, I don't actually know how to say Leon's last name, but Leon is the legendary owner of the King's Casino. And Luis Leon, you ever play with Luis Leon, Patrick? It seems like this man's got a lot of swag going on. He obviously owns a casino in Czech Republic.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine what other kind of fun stuff Luis Leon's into, but I like seeing him play.
I have a funny story. We were playing in the 50K in Prague, and Charlie Carroll was on the table. And if you don't know Charlie, well, you know him obviously, but for people who don't know him, Charlie's game plan is basically get to lots of rivers and talk to amateurs, and usually he finds out if they have a good hand or not. So he was in a huge pot against Leon, and he was talking to Leon, talking. Leon said something back to him. Charlie called, and Leon was bluffing, and Leon was really tilted. He thought this guy was trying to be clever or whatever. So Leon re-enters the tournament for another 50,000, and he says to Charlie, "Look, I'm going to get you or something." And Charlie's like, "Look, I don't want any trouble. I'm just trying to play my game, whatever." And Leon's like, "Okay, buy me a drink and we'll be okay." So Charlie's like, "Okay, sure, I'll buy you a drink. That's fine." Even though he knows Leon's like a billionaire. So Leon calls over the waitress, and the waitress came over and he ordered a bottle of whiskey for like 6,000 euros or something like this. And he's like, "Okay, there's my drink." And Charlie was like, "Do you want me to pay for this?" And he was like, yeah. I'm not sure what happened in the end, if Leon paid or whatever, but I remember seeing Charlie's face drop, like it was a pretty funny moment. Leon's always doing stuff like this. Like, he's crazy, but he's super entertaining, yeah. I was sitting next to them and the whiskey smelled like it was a really, really expensive bottle. And you could just smell the whiskey from 20 yards away or whatever.
I think that confirms everything all of us ever thought about Leon. Confirmed, boss. That's a fact right there, man. Loose Leon. Of course, Loose Leon is 6th in chips. He was at the top of the leaderboard most of the day. Now, what'd you think about Kevin Hart's play today, man? It seemed like Kevin Hart it seemed like to me didn't necessarily have cards, but also played very tight. But at the same time, I just don't see how the style that he plays with is ever going to win a tournament like this.
Well, the thing is, he got coached by Negreanu, I guess, because they're so close and stuff. And if you ever hear Negreanu talking on his video blogs and stuff, he always tells amateur players never limp, always raise, be the guy raising, putting the aggression in. But I don't think Kevin Hart raised hardly at all. He limped basically 90% of the hands he played. So it was kind of strange to see him play a completely different style to what Negreanu did. But if you think about it, he just wants exposure. He doesn't want to win a tournament necessarily. He wants to stick around for as long as possible. And I think by limping, you get yourself into smaller pots where you're not going to bust as often. So maybe his strategy was just he wanted to stick around and play lots of pots rather than play lots of big pots or something like that. I think he played pretty good though. Like, he made some really good folds. He made some good raises. He had good instinct. I mean, guys who are smart like Einhorn or Kevin Hart or Carrie Katz, like, they're smart because they have good instinct. Like, they have a good feeling for people. They understand psychology, stuff like this. And I think that Kevin Hart's intelligence, even though like he's a comedian, he's obviously very smart. Like, to be successful, you have to be smart. And I think his kind of intelligence just shows like he tries to pretend he's a joker, like an idiot, but he's really not. Like, he had really good instinct in lots of spots and got away from some big hands, which most amateurs wouldn't, I think. So
yeah, I definitely agree. It seemed like post flop he was making some good decisions, but. And like I said, we did see him card dead too. He was really short stack most of the time. We didn't necessarily get to see him mix it up at all. But
I mean, when you look at the hands, whenever he got lots of chips in, he had the best hand most of the time. Like, he got it all in against Fido with King Queen against King Jack. I think he got it all in pre-flop a few times with the best hand. Like, I don't know. He seemed to play decent from what I saw. Obviously, he didn't play as good as like someone like Reina or Stefan or whoever else, but he played good, I think.
So what do you think about this? He did an interview. He's talking about taking a shit. He humped the table when he won a hand. He doubled up their guys and he's calling them motherfuckers to their face. And
I didn't.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I laughed. I guess I laughed, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know if that's. I don't know.
I don't find it funny. Like, I don't know if it's American humor or if it's like what kind of humor. But to me, it's not funny. Like, I don't know. I like more like dry, witty humor. This was just over the top. Like, I don't know. This to me, this was the kind of thing where if anyone else did it apart from him, they would be seen as like the biggest idiot of all time. Like, if you just go to a local casino and there's a guy talking like he's talking, you would not think it's funny. But because it's coming from a guy who's supposed to be a comedian, you initially think it's funny. But to me, I don't think it was so funny. Like, I think the guys on the table, like Fido and Ben Tollery and these guys, I don't think necessarily appreciated it. They laughed and they smiled because it's polite and they feel like they kind of have to, but I don't think it's that funny. I don't know, but I guess his fans will find it funny, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the different style brought to the table, and I definitely was entertained by it too, but it was interesting. I wasn't expecting, I wouldn't expect to see that. So, but obviously, it's this weird thing when poker where you have someone who's willing to play a $300,000 massive buy-in tournament, who has this worldwide fame and these millions of followers, and is legitimately a very famous person who could potentially do something, really cool for poker. and has that sort of reach to bring all these new people into the game. And if you know that's a style. That's what his style is when he's doing these shows. That's what's gotten him famous. So I can understand that, and I think a lot of people out there did find it funny. Obviously, there's people who are not going to find that funny. I think it's going to be polarizing to some people out there in a way. But overall, I enjoyed it. I wish that he would have been deep, honestly, because
I think the biggest sign of intelligence is self-awareness. So like knowing how you are, like how you're being perceived, is like how that kind of shows how intelligent you are. Like when to stop being aggro, when to do whatever. And I think the way that he did it was that he was very polite to the businessmen. Like he didn't offend the businessmen at all. He never like swore at them. He was very quiet and polite to them. And I think what he was trying to do to like Fido and Ben Tollerine was like get them out of their comfort zone, make them think he was looser and a crazy guy than he actually was, like make it look like he's going to get it into life. But then when he actually gets it in, he has the nuts, So like play the Joker card against the professionals who will then maybe make mistakes against him, I think it was more of this strategy thing because he wasn't doing it to everyone, like he didn't like swear at Carrie Katz, or he didn't call Bill Klein a motherfucker or whatever, like he was polite to them. And I think it showed he knew kind of when and where to do it almost. And maybe it was part of his overall strategy, I guess.
Yeah, I think he talked about that during an interview. He said that he wanted to try to get these guys that don't talk a little bit out of their comfort zone. So maybe like a Brian Rast or even, Ben 86 or I guess, maybe Fedor to some extent. He wanted to try to get those guys out of their comfort zone. And I think he even talked about at the table with Fedor, is this working? Is this working to you? And Fedor said no. So I think that's actually a really good point, is that it does seem like that was a part of his game plan, was to do that. And I mean, he kind of did get unlucky, unfortunately, with the table draw that he had, I feel like, with this day, because we didn't necessarily have these big personalities. I think Jay Kuhn was pretty dialed in, pretty serious. Brian Rast was engaging in conversation. But once again, pretty dialed in guy, pretty serious guy. Einhorn and Fedor they didn't say too much about many things going on there. So I think if he had someone at the table who was going to engage him in conversation, like a Daniel, for example, then that table becomes entirely different.
Yeah, Tony G.
You have that. Yeah, Tony G, exactly. Loose Leon. Like if you give Kevin Hart someone to play with at that table, someone who they can talk to each other, I think everyone else gets in the mix. And
I think
even Doug Polk too.
He tried with Helmuth, right? Like he was trying to rile Helmuth up a little bit, I think. He was giving him a few little needles, but Helmuth kind of didn't say much until he started losing, and then he started berating everybody and stuff. But
yeah, I think if Helmuth had some chirpinships, he would have been talking back. If he wins a big pot against Kevin Hart, he would have been talking back. But unfortunately, he lost that big pot straight away, and it was all downhill from that point on. And he was quickly eliminated with set over set, which once again is one of the most ridiculous things to get set over set there against Kevin Hart.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh man! So what do you think about the poker go? Obviously, you're an entrepreneur guy yourself. You've been, you got the business over there in your country that you live in now. I think what don't tell
I live
me.
in London.
Hungary.
I live in London now.
Oh, you live in London now. You don't live in Budapest anymore.
No, we moved to London like 4 months ago, like the start of the year, I guess. But yeah, biggest thing is obviously staking, like the staking company, which is like it's global. It's not like a country specific thing.
Hey, listen, brother, we've seen the graphs you've been posted on Twitter. When those selectively crushing graphs you post, my friend, the staking company looks like it's going pretty well.
I actually have a thread on 2+2 where I post the bad graphs too. Like during Scoop, we were having like a 300K downswing, and I was posting about how bad it was and all that kind of shit. So yeah, we posted the ups and the downs on 2+2 thread. But I think in terms of the $10, I think it's good. Last year I wanted to watch the show, but I couldn't watch it because it was on some American channel. I ended up watching it through Telescope or something. What's it called? Periscope. And I was like, and I was like, this is terrible quality. I wish I could just pay like $20 a day and I would watch this, So I think it's a smart thing to do. It makes sense with the WSOP. I think it's kind of strange that the WSOP let Aria have so much exposure. Like, I think the WSOP could run a similar event like this, like a 300K event, and do a great production, especially when they're partnered with Poker Central. They don't even need to do anything. They can pay, Poker Central would do it themselves and take the money, I think maybe the one drop, like the 100K next week, like I think that could be a really good event to be televised all the way throughout with a feature table. I'm not sure if it's going to be, do you know or not?
I do not know exactly what their one drop plan is. I don't know anything about what the World Series of Poker schedule is right now, but I think you bring up a pretty good point in that, yeah, I guess it is kind of surprising, but it also is the first year too as well. I think WSOP, I don't know if this was a partnership with WSOP and Poker Central that's been in the works for a while. I imagine it's been talked about for a while, but I would have expected it to see it come out much sooner. I don't know this. I got to find out more about exactly what went on there. But I mean, it seemed like the stream overall quality was good. It maybe froze a few times. We had to refresh it. People did have problems with the PayPal in terms of paying. I mean, a lot of people had no idea how to where they watch it, where to go. I mean, I saw so many questions on Twitter and in the chat. It's like, how do I watch this? What do I do? And I think it is sort of strange to put the biggest poker event with a worldwide celebrity on behind a paywall that most of his fans are not going to be able to even know exist or find.
Yeah.
Or pay for. But I guess I do understand why. It's a business model. This is a great way to get people signed up, make money, get them in for the World Series of Poker. But I do think that it could have been something that is free, and then you charge for that World Series of Poker coverage, and you charge for those cash games, and you charge for this other stuff. But at the same time, I definitely understand their thinking behind wanting to monetize this event.
Yeah, it's good. And they've given a lot of stuff for free in the past too, like the cash games last year and stuff. It was all really good, I think. The high roller cash games they did. So.
Yeah, and Maury talked about on the podcast that we're gonna have more cash games. We're gonna have more stuff coming up too. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. And I guess right now we got 19 players left, man. Who you rooting for out there, Pants? Who's your guys that you want to win?
Well, before the event started, we did a lot of drafts. I think it was like Scott Seaver, Jason Mercier, me, Salman, a few of the guys, like a lot of the guys who were playing. We did a lot of like 10K drafts. So we all chose like 10 players in orders. And it's like winner takes all drafts, and it's not looking good for me at all now. I think Dan Coleman has the best teams right now. I basically needed Germans to do well. I backed the Germans, and they didn't do very well so far. Like Fido busted it, and a few other guys. Dominic didn't do so well. He busted in a flip. So it's not looking so good for me. I need Reina Kempe basically to win. But he's a good player, so I have confidence in him. I think Justin is obviously the favorite to win now. He has the biggest chips. I haven't seen the table draw for today yet. I'm not sure if it's been published.
Got the table draw for you right here, Pads. Let me tell you kind of what we're looking at here. So see table 3 is the all reg table. We got Negreanu, PLP, Pradush Badiga, Brian Rast, Vogelsong, Kempe, and Schindler. Table 2, we got Zach Hyman, Jason Mercier, David Einhorn, my boy Luce Leon, Kerry Katz, Justin Bonomo, Dan Shack. And then the other table, we got Corey Aldemir, Bill Klein, Byron Kaverman, Jay Kuhn, Lucky Chewy, and Stefan Schilhabel.
Yeah. Okay. With some fun tables, I think. They're playing till the money today, I think, right? So
they're playing 2 final tables today.
It'll be a long day, I think. People will be playing very tight. Everyone's quite deep. Like everyone has good stacks, like average big blinds wise. Single take.
I don't actually know what the big blind is. They didn't show it yesterday. I think it maybe is at 8K big blind or something like that. Is that right? Maybe more than 8K. Okay, so what's that 10K? Short stack Negreanu has got 22 big blinds, and then Mercier, Hyman, I have under 30 big blinds as well. But obviously, as you mentioned, we got a lot of guys who are over 100 big blinds. We got a couple guys, Byron Kaverman and Bonomo, who have 200 big blinds plus to start. So yeah, there is some deep play here for sure. I think the short stacks might go out relatively quickly. But I mean, I don't know. It seemed like yesterday the action was kind of flying around there.
It depends. Like if the short stack's Negreanu, he's probably not likely to go out quickly. He's less likely to take like thin edges and make wide reshoves. He's more small ball, kind of waiting for a better spot, I think. If the short stack was like Fido, it's likely he's either going to bust or double quite quickly. But someone like Negreanu, I think he's going to just not take thin edges, and he's going to preserve his stack a little bit, I think. So it'll be interesting.
I think the guys I'm rooting for out there, people have been asking, obviously, we got PLP. He's teaching me how to play tournaments. Of course, I'm rooting for my boy PLP. Jason Kuhn, obviously Jason Kuhn, man. I'm couldn't be rooting for him more. Brian Rast, the king. I love Brian as well, too. I think it, even though I haven't ever heard Rainer say much, I think it would be pretty sick if Rainer was able to make that final table and potentially go back-to-back 2 years in a row. That would just be.
He's really funny, actually. Like, if you meet him, he's got great personality, very funny, very witty, kind of lots of jokes, not taking life seriously kind of thing. He's a very, very good guy. So I think a lot of people like him in this high roller scene for sure. He hasn't really been on the feature table at all, I don't think. He hasn't really been able to express himself, I guess.
So and that's my big thing, Pats, is that me and Jonah are talking. We say we haven't even heard some of these guys' names really mentioned, man. I mean, Christoph Vogelsong, we saw him a couple seconds, a great player. Been playing online high stakes cash online tournaments. We haven't really seen much of his name. They haven't said anything about him. So if you're watching this, you got no fucking idea who this tall kid is with the glasses sitting there with this face all covered up. You don't know anything about the guy. Is he a fun player? Is he a...
He's funny. He's funny. I played against him in some high roller in Europe, and I entered for my second bullet, and I raised the first 4 hands with just whatever I had, and then I folded, and then I lost the pots or whatever happened. I'm not sure. The 5th hand, I took a long time, and then I folded. I think I had ace-10 off under the gun or something. And then after the hand, the table was very quiet, all Germans, not really talking. So I said to Christoph, I would have raised this hand if I hadn't played the last 4 hands. And he looked at me like super confused. He was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, I mean, like, I raised the last 4 hands. No one's going to believe me. And he's like, that's not how it works. You just play ranges, like, don't worry about like what people think, whatever, just play your hands, So I think he's very kind of a robotic kind of guy who's like not thinking so much about the live stuff necessarily. He's just playing his ranges. Maybe not super fun to watch because he's just like playing super solid, super well, not making mistakes, I'm not sure how he would do against these kind of carry cats guys who are doing all these crazy river leads, min bet, and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he'd be confused about that. He also takes quite a long time as well. So with a 30-second time bank, when he's seeing lines he's not used to, I'm not sure how well that helps him. Same with Byron. Like, Byron's super good, but he takes a long time, very calculated over every decision. So I think the shot clock doesn't really help these guys, but it probably helps the businessmen because the businessmen aren't really thinking that much, like, too complex on all the spots. They're kind of playing for instinct and feel, which is good for them, So I think the shot clock really helps them as well. I think the iPad thing is really good. You know the iPad on the table?
Yeah, the iPad, they got the timer right there. They just touch it and reset it, yeah.
Super GTO, that is, I think. I was speaking to Polypoker today about it, and they think we're going to do it in our tournaments too. You can also input the chip stacks for all the players on the table. So the dealer could get the iPad and then write in the stack sizes for all the players, and it goes on the website. Because the stack sizes on the website were pretty slow updating, I think. Like, they were outdated a lot of the time. Some guys had 1 million when it said they had 500K, stuff like this. So for a really good updating and reporting kind of thing, I think it'd be good if the dealers were using the iPads to update the stack sizes every break or something like this. So you could have an accurate representation of how the field is doing, see how your guy's doing or whatever.
Yeah, so basically, you think that the shot clock idea is gonna something, because obviously, I think from a spectator perspective, I very much enjoy it. In terms of, I've never necessarily played with a shot clock. I mean, I guess you have a shot clock when you're playing online. You're playing a lot of tables, so in a way, I'm used to acting very fast. But in a live setting, I think I would enjoy it, but I just don't know. I'm not 100% sure either way. But overall, do you think bringing this something to the masses is something overall that's good for tournament poker around the world? Or do you think it's something that some players are going to just, be a little bit put off by if it's their first tournament and they're not going to be sure? Or, I mean, I guess I've heard both sides of it, but what's sort of your thinking about it from where you're coming from? It's
great. I mean, a lot of pros are just spending a lot of time thinking about stuff which they don't need to think about or they shouldn't be thinking about, wasting too much time. I think for sure it's good. It makes it more entertaining for amateur players. I think it decreases the gap between the top regs and the kind of second top regs, like top tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 can't take 2 minutes to work out every single decision, which is a good thing. Like, let's say you defend the big blind and someone bets. You need to work out, like, how often do you want to check raise? How are you going to sort out your frequencies? What's the difference in the EV between calling and check raising? How will I play turns? How should ICM affect this decision? Like, you can think really complex on one decision, but this kind of shot clock makes you get to level 2, but it doesn't let you get to like level 6, 7, or 8, unless you're like really thinking all the time. It also makes you, like, let's say I play in a 1500 event in WSOP. If it's someone else's turn to act, I can just be looking at my phone or whatever else, and then I can work it out once it's my turn. In the shot clock, it makes you think what you're going to do when someone else is thinking, which is really good, Like, it makes you look at your cards as soon as you get your cards, rather than waiting until it's your turn, slowly looking at your cards, looking everyone down, looking at everything, contemplating the situation. It makes you really act quicker and not waste time, which is good for everyone, I think. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think if more tournament series start embracing it, like if Party Poker starts implementing this on a bigger level, eventually I do see this moving to become a norm. I see this becoming a norm in casinos and cash games and tournaments, potentially, if it's something that people really take to. And I from just from a spectator experience, man, I wouldn't watch this if it wasn't like this. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't want to watch a 12-minute poker hand every single time, or half hour you see 3 hand. Like that's not necessarily what I'm personally interested in seeing. I'm sure others are because that's how it's been now for years. But this event specifically, I enjoy it so much because we do have that shot clock. And you mentioned some guys staring people down like a Byron Kaverman or a Vogelsong. I thought Fedor did a fair amount of that as well too. He was very deliberate, slow in his act. He's got his very slow, like, you know, like a Fedor bot or something like that when he's moving. So I think he is also in that camp as well. And
you know the ace jack hand against David Einhorn when he stared him down for 30 seconds and made the bad fold, the queen jack deuce against 5-4. If he had an extra 2 minutes, he could have probably stared him down for like an extra minute or so. And it's likely Einhorn would have probably given off something, you know, but in 30 seconds, it's just like, it's tough to give off something in that 30 seconds, you know, like once you really think they're doing something, like a trick a lot of these live guys do, like the live pros, they'll stare you down for 30 seconds. They'll then grab their chips, make it look like they're going to call, wait for a reaction, look for some body movement, wait for you to say something like let's say I make a big bluff and I think someone's 99% going to call. It makes sense for me to try to talk them out of calling just to say something, you know? Right. So what they do is they look at you for 30 seconds or a minute, count their chips out for 30 seconds, make it look like they're going to call, and then look for a reaction, you know? This kind of doesn't let you do anything like this, which is great, you know? Like, it kind of, like I said, decreases the edge between the amateur and the professional, decreases the edge between the online pro and the live pro, all of that kind of stuff, which I think is great, you know? It makes it more of a level playing field. I guess. That's
interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard that before. So it's something I hadn't thought about. And it feels like the shot clock is a relatively new thing in poker. We've had it a couple events over these past couple of years, but not really on that big scale where you can sort of figure out what the differences are and how it might benefit certain types of players. But that's really interesting to hear that, is that you think it might decrease the edge in some spots in a situation like that, especially when a regular's going to stare down a guy for 3-4 minutes, which isn't an exaggeration. He's gonna stare at him for 3 to 4 fucking minutes. So I mean, that's true, man. That's it does give them more of a chance to potentially break or whatever like that.
The ante thing is good too. You know, the ante pin, the ante from the button.
Oh, it's a big blind, I think, pays the ante. Correct?
Oh, the big blind, yeah, the big blind. I think it's good because when you're under the gun now, everything changes, you know? Like if you have like 8 big blinds, your shoving range under the gun has to change because next time you're in a big blind, you're going to pay both the big blind and everyone's ante, you know? So you have to make some really wide reshoves under the gun, and then people then have to call wider. It makes the game kind of less robotic. People need to think more, you know, there's more variables going on, which is always good. Like I love there being differences in poker. That's good, I think. Like Shark Cage, you change your strategy based on what's going on at the table, you know? Like I think that's good.
You know, that's a big reason why I like playing with the Rock at the PLO Cash Games live. So anytime like a 2-5-10 or 5-10-20, when you win the hand, you're the straddle the next hand. And I think that just it makes the game just more exciting for me personally because it's always changing. So you might have the cutoff be the Rock, be the first person X the button 3 hands in a row. I think that just makes it. I think it gives an edge to better players in that spot. Because now you can think about all these different unique situations. Okay, well, under the gun +2 is a straddle here. The next person, you know, so it's like you have to constantly be paying attention. You have to be sort of changing the way that you're thinking about things and sort of seeing who's identifying that, okay, their first act, they might be playing tighter, they might be playing looser or whatever. And that's my favorite game is games where you play PLO Cash with the Rock. And I imagine this isn't a normal thing though, right? The big blind being the ante. I don't know if I've seen this before.
No, it's a new thing. It's very good. I think it was implemented maybe like 2 months ago or something. Actually, Party Poker's casino in Nottingham in England, they have a similar game as the PLO game. Basically, let's say the game is 10-25 PLO. When you're on the button, you put in 25 extra. If you don't win the hand, it just stays in the middle. The next person who's on the button puts in 50. Basically, whoever's on the button, you keep putting in double the amount as the last guy until somebody wins the hand when they're on the button, you know? So it makes the button play like wild and crazy and play like any 4 cards like usually you do anyway in PLO, I guess. But like if no one wins a hand on the button for like 10 hands, there's a huge pot in the middle and then everyone's fighting to kind of not let the button win the hand, you know, so that they have a chance to win it next time. It brings in like extra dynamic. There's all sorts of different things going on all over. I like it. Like poker is changing. Like there's different things happening. People are trying different things. I think maybe 5 years ago, poker was getting a little bit boring. The same tournaments all the time, like just EPTs. There was no real big high rollers, you know, like these 25Ks or whatever. But now I think poker's quite fun. You know, there's poker on TV. There's different things going on. People are not scared to try different things. You know, like live poker, you have Aria doing lots of stuff. Online party are running big high rollers or overlays, whatever else. I think now poker seems like a good time, a fun time to be around and play, I think. To me,
Mike DeVecchio in the chat. Big shout out to Mike. He says big blind ante is standard for live cash with an ante.
I mean, there's not much live cash with an ante, I guess, right? Or I mean,
yeah, I think Mike mainly plays at Bellagio, I believe. So maybe that's something that runs specifically to Bellagio. I'm not actually sure. Like I said, I haven't heard that format existing honestly anywhere. So I do think it makes it. I guess. Do you feel like that gives an edge to professionals because they're going to be able to take this information and take this unique spot, in this unique format, and be able to process that potentially in a more plus AV way?
Yeah,
or do you think it doesn't matter?
Any kind of new information will always kind of benefit regs, benefit the smartest people at the table, the people who can adapt to it. But like, I think Carrie Katz, for example, he's really the one who decides the structures and stuff. So like, he's going to be understanding the changes and he's going to make a lot of the good adjustments straight away, I think. But yeah, also people like Talal Shakurchi, like these people, like they're thinking, they're not just like, oh, there's a change, I'm not going to think about it. You know, like they will think about it too. They will make good adjustments. And also like poker, when you want to learn poker, all you do is copy the guy who's the best. So like, if you see that Fido is doing something when there's a big change, you just copy Fido. You don't need to work out yourself. Like, I know that Phil Ivey used to, when he was younger, not younger, but when he used to play Heads Up Cash online, him and Antonius, they used to watch what the best regs did, and they used to just copy the strategy, you know? So like, when people started 3xing from 2x in, or 3-betting 3x from 4x or whatever else, they basically just worked out that, okay, if this genius is spending 10 hours in the lab working something out, I'm not going to spend 10 hours in the lab. I'll let him do it. Then I'll just copy what he does against everyone else, you know? And I think these amateurs are very good at imitating what other guys do as well, and understanding the changes of things, what are happening, you know? Especially someone like Talal, who understands poker so well.
Mike says the ante with the big blind ante doesn't run often, but it's fun. He says can't have the button be the ante because sometimes there's a dead button. That makes a lot of sense. So thanks for the shout out, Big Puppy. Much love to Mike, man. Mike's a long time online guy, and I know he played a lot of live. He just took down a big tournament. He got that little the Asian stimulus package from Kitty, I believe. So I know he's been out there probably meeting a lot of Asian girls. Shout out to Mike. And we'll go on the AGG in Vegas here very soon, my friend. But I think you make up a point, and something I've been thinking about a lot too is we've been seeing these businessmen, very smart guys, very successful guys. They've been playing these tournaments now for a couple of years. It's not like they're a year or two in. You got some of these guys been playing 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and I think you can see is that they're getting better and better. They're adapting these strategies, and I think Carrie Katz. I mean, I don't know. I want to be inside his head for it. I just kind of want to see his thoughts on what he's doing through these hands, and he's been I think there was one hand specifically. Kevin Hart was limping a lot. He was over limping, and then there'd be a big raise a couple of times from Fedor with marginal hands, and then everybody would fold. So that one time Kevin Hart limped in, Carrie Katz over limps the ace king, trying to potentially, okay, I'm going to make this adjustment because there's some guys isolating behind, or Fedor had a shorter stack in the blinds. He might bump it up here. So, and you've seen him check back some hands in some spots too. We saw yesterday with the other day with the king 5 on the full house board and 3-bet pot. Crazy. So he's definitely, thinking about these stuff in a much deeper way than I think you might expect from a guy like Carrie Katz. And it's very cool to see, man. I'm very much enjoying seeing Carrie play poker.
Yeah. He's the most fun guy to watch out of all the guys. He's also super nice. Like playing in these 25Ks in Aria, he's super nice to all the guys. Like he has a great relationship with all the recreational guys, the businessmen, whoever else. But he also has like a really good relationship with the professionals, and he also listens to people and he helps make changes happen. Like I'm not trying to shout out Polypoker all the time, but Polypoker does well because there's a guy called Rob Young who basically forces or pushes a lot of action to change. He listens to professionals, and he makes changes. And Carrie Katz is like the live version of Rob Young. Like if something makes sense, he doesn't try to sit down in a board meeting for 2 days or 1 week or 2 weeks and discuss. He just tries it, and if it doesn't work, he'll change it, And I think that's what poker needs, like lots of quick changes, not having to get things approved or whatever,
Listen, I don't know, Patrick. I sort of enjoy a site like a PokerStars where when you suggest a change, they tell you to go fuck yourself, and then they take more money away from you. Personally, I think we've all come to really enjoy an experience like that. And I mean, say, hey, like maybe can we do something about maybe improving the cash games here? All right, fuck it, spin and goes, jackpot poker. Here you go. I don't know, man. I feel like I like that. Yeah, I like being treated like that. So you're saying it's possible to actually put an input in and then maybe have the person listen?
Their favorite thing is they take something away from you, and then 1 month later they add it back, and they expect you to be really happy that they've given you something great, and they release a press release about it, like we've given you back this money or something, like it's a good thing.
Hey, listen, Pat, we're gonna go back to paying out the number of people that we've been paying out for a long time and that everyone fucking hated. And then we're gonna make it a big deal. It's a great change. Everyone's hey.
I know, yeah.
Thank you guys, appreciate that. Shout out to my boy Gary Gates. So I got love for Gary though, man. I
like him too.
He's
a
great
nice
job.
guy.
So, and he was kind of involved with that one, but yeah, it's really weird, Pads. I feel like for a long time, PokerStars very much listened to people, and now they're not really listening. Let's put it like that. And so now when you have these companies and these sites that are actually listening, people are so shell shocked. They're like, people are like, wait, are they listening? But that's how it was for a long time. You had these companies listening, you had the online sites listening, and it's kind of cool to get back to that. And I think, mentioned in Party Poker once again, and I know John Duthie, shout out to John Duthie. He's working with Party Poker as well. He mentioned maybe there might be some new software in the works as well too, because I think that's people's biggest complaint or biggest gripe with Party Poker. Yeah. And obviously now, you mentioned you want to plug Party Poker, but at the same time, man, of course you do. Come on, you're the ambassador, man. I don't know how much they're fucking paying you, kid, but yeah, I think you're doing a pretty great job with just in terms of communicating with people and just helping. It seems like really helping to improve the ecosystem of Party Poker and cash games and tournaments.
About software, any software which gets changed on Party Poker has to be approved by me now. So if there's any change at all, they send it to me as a player and I give feedback, and then they'll change it and make it perfect or change it to improve it. Then they release it. I think the whole thing about PokerStars and Party Poker is that it's all about like understanding what's going on. If I ask you who watches your show the most, recreational players or regular players, who would you say?
Recreate. I mean, it's just I know many people are making a living at poker, and it's certainly not going to be in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. So it's most certainly recreational players.
Same with Doug Polk. Who watches Doug Polk stuff? Regular players or recreational players?
Some of the worst poker players of all time. No shots. I mean, come on.
The thing is, these guys, they're not recreational. They're not recreational and they're not regular. Like there's a really big demographic of poker players who are not like fish, and they're not the best players in the world. There's guys who go to their card room 2 or 3 times a week, and these are the guys who the poker sites don't really try to help. Like they are regular players, but they're still recreational. They're like they're regular recreational players. So these are the kind of guys who you need to keep happy, because they will tell friends about which they think is the best site. So like if you keep a guy happy in his card room and he plays on your poker app, then when he sits down and plays against 8 different people, they will all be looking what's on his phone, like what site are you playing on? Oh, I'm playing on Party Poker. Why are you playing there? Oh, they have a good loyalty system, that kind of thing, But I think people try to just attract like gamers off Twitch, or they try to attract, like teenage kids or whatever. But the people who you need to attract are kind of the people in the middle, the people who don't make 100,000 a year from poker, but not the people who necessarily lose 100,000 from poker either. You need the guys who lose like 1,000 or 2,000 a year, or win 1,000 or 2,000 a year. Like the guys who will make the tournaments have 2,000 players instead of 100 players, or the guys who want to sit down and play Zoom 200, or Zoom 50 or Zoom 100. These are the kind of guys you need to attract to your site to get liquidity, to then get regulars to play on that site too. But I think sites in the last few years, they've only gone after the really, really new amateurs, like the guys who are going to deposit then go to casino. That's not the kind of guys who I think you should attract. It should be the regular recreational guys, like the guys who watch your podcast, the guys who watch Doug's podcast. They love poker, like they're not complete idiots. They are smart. They understand poker. They've played poker for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, like they need to be treated with respect, and they need to be given a good experience. They need good loyalty system. They need a good software. They need good structures, good tournaments, good prize pools, everything else, They need to be treated with respect, I think, and given something good back to them, I think.
Yeah, we're me and Pat are going to be doing a podcast. We'll podcast, and we're in Vegas together. We're going to talk. We're going to do a specific one, just kind of talking about Party Poker, talking about the online stuff, talk about Mike Sexton, the man, the myth, the fucking legend. Who I'm going to miss his voice. I think
Mr. Aggro, Mike Sexton.
I love Mike Sexton so much, man. His story, he no one tells a story like Mike Sexton. I had him on the pod, and this guy is just a consummate professional. He's got some DJ in him too, which obviously I can relate to, and I love as well. Yeah. And it's a pretty big change having Mike Sexton go over there in Party Poker. I'm not sure if he's a CEO or exactly what his role is in the company. But I mean, listen, they're bringing in Mike Sexton. They got John Duthie. I mean, they're bringing in some people here. It seems like, man, I don't know what happened. I don't know what brought this change on, but it seems like, man, there is a chance here to regain that top dominance in the online poker space, in poker world space, and we're going for it. And obviously, from my point of view, I've been wanting this for years, man. I've been wanting this for a year or two or even more since these changes have been going down, and it's really great to see it taking place right now. And I couldn't be more
I
happy
would
about
also
it.
like to say though, like there needs to be a shout out to all the other sites too. Like even though I'm a Party Poker ambassador, 888 they also do great work. You know, Winamax they also do great work. And one of the reasons that other sites do good work is because Party Poker and other sites push them. You know, so like if Party Poker make a change, then 888 have to do something too. If 888 do something, then Party have to retaliate and do something else too. You know, so when there's competition between the second, third, fourth, fifth biggest sites, they'll push each other to make each other bigger and bigger and better. That's healthy, you know. In the past, there was PokerStars and nothing else. No one was pushing each other. But now everyone's pushing each other. It's great. I don't necessarily need to make Party Poker great again. It's about making poker great again, you know. And that's not going to happen if just Party Poker do something good. It needs to be all the other sides too, you know. So I want Party Poker to do amazing, be the best, etc. But I want 888 and Winamax and all these sites to be just behind, you know. There needs to be a healthy competition with everyone, not just one site or two sites doing everything good. Because for too many years, it was only PokerStars who did anything good. And now there needs to be 4 or 5 sites who all did good stuff together, you know.
Yeah.
Cooperate.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Shout out to 888 Poker, of course. You know, they're sponsoring, I believe they're one of the sponsors for the Super High Roller Bowl too. And there's been a lot of pocket eights out there going. So there's been getting a lot of 888 shout outs as well. I guess going into today, the event's going to be starting here in about 1.5 hours or 2, I think 1.5 hours from right now. Oh, you said you're rooting for the German guys, basically, it seems.
Rainer, Stefan, and Corey, yeah. And Leon. Okay, so I have Leon in my draft too. So if Leon wins, it's good. Leon is good.
Here's my dream final table. I'm just gonna go off the cuff here, and I'm gonna go through some guys here. I would like to see Byron Karam at the final table. I really want to watch him play more. He's been one of the top tournament players here for a while. I want to see his style, even with the tanking. With that said, you know, I don't mind. Byron Kaverman, PLP, Pussy Lovin', aka Poker Lovin' Pratt, because no one loves poker more than Pratouche. Of course, I want to see PLP in the mix. We got Jay Kuhn. I'd love to see. I want to see Brian Rast, the king. I want to see Daniel make a comeback, man. I want to see Daniel final table. Anything's better with Daniel Negreanu in the mixture as well. Justin Bonomo, of course, got that pink hair. I love looking at pink hair. Plus, you know, I got a lot of love for Justin, man. He's been crushing it lately. If we got to go 2 more, I think it's going to be at a final table of 9. So we're going to count 9. We'll go Lucky Chewy as well. We had him on the pod recently. I guess I'm totally playing podcast favorites here. But last, no, that's 8. Last, Luce Leon. Of course, I want to see Luce Leon in the mix. And then we're going to go... I don't know. I'm gonna leave that for interpretation. I could go with Jason Mercy. I'd see him in the mix. Dan Shark Shack, of course. I want to see Dan Shack, Kerry Katz. I don't know. I'm a lot of good guys in there, man. A lot of guys out there that I would be excited to see at the final table here.
Sure. It should be fun. Whoever will be there will be great. Like everyone who's left is pretty interesting in different ways, I think. And that's kind of why the tournament is so good. Everyone in the whole tournament had a different story. They're all interesting in different ways, I think. Which is good. No
shots at the Germans because I love the Germans, Pads. I love the German. I want Fedor to make all the money in the world. I don't know if I want to see the Germans at the final table. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know much about them. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily ecstatic to see them at the final table. They don't say much. They all look like Fedor. They all got the same hoodie on right now. So if they don't make it, I don't know. I guess I'm not too bent out of shape to see them there. Those guys don't seem like they might not bring much to the table in terms of making it an entertaining table.
If you're trying to learn no limit tournaments, though, you probably want the Germans there to kind of watch what they're doing, so you can copy this summer. You know, one German.
Luckily, I'm not trying to win any no limit home tournaments anytime soon. Until I take the Upswing multi-table tournament course from Pat LP. I don't know, man. That's all I got. Guys in the chat, you guys have a question or two, bring it up here, bring it in. And I think we'll probably do I don't know if they're playing until 9 or 7 today, boys and girls. I'm not 100% sure. It could be 7, and that's the final table. I don't actually understand what the hell's happening so they played a 7, and then I think they played a 3 or 2, and then they played down the next day. Why that is, I'm not quite sure, but
I think it's 6. I think they play till the money today. I think it's 6.
They play till 6.
6 and then 2 and then over. I think.
Why? I don't know. Why do they do that?
Because they play till the money today, then they play till heads up, and then they finish it. Right.
Why don't they just finish it the day? I guess, well, they probably might play the heads up, and it might go pretty late into the night, I guess, on Wednesday. And then final table's 9. No one knows. No one knows. No one knows, Pets. No one. Someone says 6, someone says 7, someone says 9. We don't know what's happening, man. No one knows what's going on here.
I wonder if there'll be do you think there'll be a deal? Big money, you know.
I think so, man. I mean, was there a deal last year?
I think heads up, there was a deal. I think free-handed Seidel was still in against Rainer and Fido. and then the one Seidel got knocked out. I guess they chopped it. Not sure.
Okay. Guys in the chat say it's 7 levels or down to 9. So they're going to be playing down to 9 today. And then I guess from 9, we'll be playing down to 3. And then down from 3, they'll be playing for the winner. And I'll probably be in Vegas for the winner, guys. So I'll probably be at that little last thing there. I'm excited to see that. I hope it's somebody I know, obviously, because that would make the after party Thursday night much, much more exciting. So Pads, you're going out to Vegas here soon, right?
Friday.
Friday? You excited? What's the plan out there, kid?
I'm going to actually video blog every day. I'm going to make 45 videos over summer and try to post them on YouTube and stuff. So it should be interesting to do. I'm going to take a camera around with me on a little stick and film everything. Hopefully win a bracelet, but we'll see. It's a plan.
That's going to be a cool look, man. So I feel like a kid like yourself, you're probably going to take them with all the emotions you might experience. Obviously, the summer, man, the summer is long. It's grueling when you're playing a lot. It's fucking hot. You're playing these 12, 13-hour days. And I think most people are hesitant to sometimes show the vulnerable side of themselves and the agony you might go through sometimes, if agony is the word, or the negatives, or the sometimes whatever the negative feelings you might be feeling. I feel like with you, you'll probably be willing to take people behind the scenes and kind of tell them when you're feeling like this, you're feeling like that. You're probably gonna let them know.
Yeah, that'll be the hope. I have some guys who I stake who will be there and stuff. Hopefully we get some final table rails. Should be fun. Should be some ups and downs, and I'll play some of these Area 25Ks and stuff. So I'll get some good footage of that kind of stuff. So it should be pretty fun, I think. Yeah, you
gonna play all tournaments, or are you gonna play any cash games as well? What's kind of the plan behind that?
I will play tournaments every day, and when I bust a tournament, I'll go to a different casino and kind of walk around the casino with the camera, show the casino, play in a cash game for like an hour in the different casinos, talk about why it's a good place or a bad place to play, to give people kind of a review all around Vegas of where to play poker kind of thing. That's kind of the plan, I guess.
I really like that idea, because I think the most popular question I get a lot of people say, hey, where should I go play poker? Planet Hollywood card room, Aria card room, Bellagio, all these places. I think that's a very popular question, and be pretty cool to take people behind the scenes and check these out. I don't know the filming TOS in terms of these places, but overall, I mean, it sounds like a good idea. Are you going to have somebody edit these for you? Because I imagine you're probably not going to do this if you're playing.
Tired, I have a really good company who are going to do it all for me. I'm going to send it to them every day. Then they help me upload the stuff and everything. So should be good.
Cool, man. Tell people where they're going to find that. On YouTube? You're going to put it on iTunes as well?
I'll put it on YouTube. It'll be like video blogs. So I think YouTube is the only way to do it. So I'll put it on YouTube, I guess. So.
Cool, man. I think people will anxiously await that. I feel like that'll be something cool. I think this summer we're going to see a lot of little video content put out there. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff. We'll be putting stuff on Instagram mainly. I don't know how much longer form video blogs we're going to be doing out there, because I don't know, man. Listen, the idea starts off always good, but then it gets out of line fast in Vegas. You know how it goes. You're there for a week. All of a sudden, you're out till 5 a.m. a couple nights in a row. You're not waking up until 3 p.m. You look like shit. You don't necessarily want to put yourself on camera. Shout out to me. And that happens to me, man, every year. Fuck's sake, man. What's your YouTube name, Paz? Give him the YouTube name, too.
I haven't got it yet. I'm trying to think of a name for the whole series and stuff, so I'm not sure what it'll be yet. So we'll see.
What about Pads Power Summer?
I think it may be Bracelet Hunting or something, like generic, something kind of corny, something like that.
It's a really original name. How about Pads, Hunts, Bracelets, and what life?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, whatever. You guys got a suggestion? That's shit. I know, I'm listening. I just can't. Pads Power Hour. I like that one too. Pads Power something. Give him, if you got a suggestion, give it to him on Twitter. His Twitter name is @PlenoPads, PLENO Pads. And then stay tuned for those. When those come out, I'll put those up on my social stuff. I'll kind of let people know where you could find them as well. And yeah, guys, everyone enjoy day 3 of Super High Roll. It's going to start off here in about an hour and a half. We'll be doing we'll be doing a companion stream, I think, for some of it, like we did yesterday with me and the Wizard Assistant Jonah. And then yeah, Pads, you got Instagram, Snapchat. You want to tell people where they can find you on there, if anything at all?
Pads1161 on Instagram and BitDStaking on Snapchat.
Cool. There you go, guys. All right, everybody in the chat, much love. Hope you guys enjoy the action today. And that's what we got. That's it, man. Much love. Peace out. Adios. See you later.